Obviously love spending time in the sun, but we also know we need to be serious about protecting our skin. Even though we've been told our entire lives to use sunscreen, I think people still have a lot of questions about how much, how often, and what kind. Here with answers for us this morning is dermatologist Dr. Renee Beach. Great to have you back.
Good morning.
Okay, so I love sunscreen. Obviously, I wear a ton of it. I burn really easily. Let's start with the basics. What is SPF, and why is it important?
So SPF stands for sun protection factor. And what you'll commonly hear is that SPF 30 is what should be on our skin. And the reason why is because that equates to about 97% of ultraviolet radiation, or UV, protection from our daytime sunlight, and also from an element that we can't see, which is UVA.
Okay, and then is sunscreen a summer thing, or is it a year-round thing?
It's year-round. Okay, so obviously I'm biased talking to a dermatologist, but sunscreen definitely is a year-round thing, because even when we can't see the sun, so we're not getting that ultraviolet or UVB rays, we still have UVA. So that's the sun rays that's the rays that come through the window, windshield. It's the ones that we see coming off, sometimes the reflection off of snow, for example. So it's important year-round.
Okay, year-round. How often should we be applying sunscreen, and how much are we talking about?
So if we're talking about how much, we think about where. So if it's the face, it's a 1/4 teaspoon. If it's the face and the neck, we're looking at a 1/2 teaspoon.
Okay.
Now, when we look at the whole body, that's closer to a shot glass, or 30 mLs. And then how often, that really depends on your activity. So for example, if you're doing something that's very, very active, you're outdoors, it will often say to reapply every 2 hours.
Okay, what about in terms of kids? Because I know that they have a different absorption factor, and then like the labels get tricky because there's like the baby sunscreen that's way more expensive, and then there's the regular like adult sunscreen. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I want to just put that on my kids.
Right. So kids, the whole thing is tricky. Now you really do want to pay attention to the product labels. Oftentimes it will say children 2 and up, and that basically means that's who it was tested in. Now, if you want to be quite conservative and safe overall, I think the best thing to do with our little ones is just to cover them up. So they should have a hat with a brim around it, and they should also be wearing the rash guard clothing, so the longer sleeves. And then really you just want to keep them out during those peak hours, which is usually around 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah, I've heard this term lately where people talk about like chemical sunscreen, like a product that you can buy in a bottle, and then physical sunblock.
Yes.
And I hadn't considered that UV protective clothing is also a great option, not only for kids, but also people of all ages.
Absolutely, and it's more practical. You don't have to worry about whether you've put on enough, whether it's run down your face, whether you've sweated off or washed it off in the ocean. So UV protective fabric, I think, for most people is a happy medium between protection and also comfort.
Is this something that you see that people with fairer skin think that they need more sunscreen than people with different skin tones? What would your recommendation be, like, right across the spectrum?
Yeah, so from a function perspective, we all need sunscreen because it's going to be protective against DNA damage, which will ultimately lead to skin cancer. However, from a fashion perspective, we do find that people with lighter skin will protect their skin with sunscreen to avoid redness or freckles like brown marks. Whereas people with brown or black skin, their fashion perspective for sunscreen is a bit different. What we're really trying to do in that case is avoid hyperpigmentation. So both important, but generally for different reasons based on one's skin type.
Doctor, what's your recommendation for like hair, for example? I struggle with this, like the part in my hair, like should I just be dabbing sunscreen into that?
Ideally, yes, but that's really hard to do. It's such a small area. So I think what's more practical is get a hat. I think having a hat on, you know, you're done. You don't have to worry about, did I apply enough, or is it running down my part, or did I get it on my hair instead of on my skin? So ideally, yes, if you can find a sun protectant for the hair that's usually in a spray bottle, great. But I think from a practical perspective, just wearing a hat.
And then real quick, you're seeing it everywhere that there's like tons of makeup right now with SPF in it, including the powders. How do you feel about powder with SPF?
It's great. I think it's a field that since 2020 has exploded. It's really exciting because it makes people want to use things because it's going to be more elegant, more cosmetically acceptable. So I think once you found a shade, a grade that matches your skin tone, it's a great way to protect, but also having that cosmetic elegance.
Yeah, extra layers. We love it. It's so great to have you on the show again. Thanks for coming in. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.